Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where we talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Cleaning Lady. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, Fee and Tony end up fully opening their business with the other ladies, the cleaning ladies, and but sadly, they don't have the business. I mean, because they are such a new business, no one's going to jump, to get them. I'm curious, did their old boss have anything to do with that? Did he kind of blackball them a little bit? Maybe not. I don't know. Who knows if he was able to fill that staff vacancy that quickly or not. But this also could be right, they're a new business and they probably can't really put it on their resume who they worked for because that was so under the table that, but they do have their experiences and stuff like that, which, benefits in this episode because Tony and Fee do get a job from Ginger and they're able to, you're like, okay, Ginger seems cool, everything's great on that front, and it seems like this is going to be a continuous gig, but there is a part of me that's got this sinking feeling there just feels like there's something that's going to go wrong with that. Either Ginger's not going to be the person we think she is, she seems all lovable and nice and everything, and maybe that's all there is, but I just get this sinking feeling like things are going to fall apart on that front. It might also be because Tony's going to be so split. She already was last season. It's going to be even more so this season because she's also her and Fee are running a business. There's taking care of Luca. There's taking care of making sure Chris is okay, making sure that Fee is okay because they have that whole conversation of, hey, you can't be bottling stuff up. And she's like, really, Tony? What about you? Tony's compartmentalizing a lot better about, because the Marco stuff, I think Tony didn't want it come down to that because that's Luca's dad, but there's also a part of her that's probably she doesn't seem that grief, but also who the hell am I to tell someone how they're really feeling? She might be dealing with it her own way, but I think everything she's done so far compartmentalizing is probably something she's doing but obviously I don't think Fee's doing it a little bit better than Chris is. He's the one that's handling it the worst. An adult will have the hardest time compartmentalizing everything that went down. You're a teenager, it's going to be doubly hard for you. He can't really talk to anyone about it. The only people he can really talk to about it is his mom and Tony. He can't even talk to his sister about it. She knows something's off on that front. But, she keeps asking her mom about it. But Fiona's like, no, don't worry about it. He's just, we'll get through it together. It's it's hard to get through something together when not everyone's on the same page about it. And also, he's got to be the one to carry this because, yeah, they might be covering for him, but he's still the one that's no, not only did I kill someone in general, I've got to live with that. I killed my uncle. I killed Luca's dad. He will never have his dad. So there's layers to that. But circling back to what I was initially, the point I was making, just Tony's juggling a lot at the moment. Everything with Armand and potentially Kandar now, Garrett, which we'll get to all that later. But some interesting development happened on Fee's front, kind of correlated and connected to all that. JD, Jazz's dad, is back in the picture. He was overseas for so long, so it's unclear what their circumstances are. I guess they're not together. Maybe they haven't been for a while. But she was kind of worried that, what if JD kind of swoops in and gets to be the superhero and, everything I'm kind of failing at, he gets to succeed at? Because, because Fee's worried. That was always kind of her worried, about her kids seeing her a certain way. Chris saw her a certain way last season, but they kind of gotten past that. And she's worried, JD being around. But it's no, he's I've missed out on so much. I just want to get to know my daughter. Problem is, him being around means he's most likely going to get mixed up in some of all the stuff that's going on. Maybe not. But it does seem like Fee might be, because when Ginger was oh, you even get your man to help you clean, and he's handsome to boot, and it's yeah, I guess implying maybe something happened between JD and Fiona again. Maybe we'll see. Because we don't know how things ended, but at least it seems like they're handling the whole. Once again, he's been overseas for so long, but they're really going to do the whole co-parenting thing. And he's I'm not trying to make this something oh, we need to get lowered. It's no, I just want to keep this free flowing. I just want to keep it light and no restrictions. I just want to spend as much time as I can with her. We don't have to really divvy it up this is a courtroom or something, So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out going forward. But Tony continues selling her meds to people who needs them, but the problem is the amount of money she's making isn't enough to make a difference with the Camdar like debt that Nadia and Armand owe. And the problem is, like, once again, they're not all on the same side, because Nadia already has like all her issues with Tony because of the whole her and Armand thing. Like, she doesn't like the way Armand goes out of his way for her, because she feels like, well, you'll bend. It's like, yeah, Armand cares about Nadia, but it feels like he goes the extra mile for Tony. He'll do anything for her, and it's like, oh, she asks, she calls, you'll come running immediately, abandoning the situation that we're in right now, because it's not Tony that's stuck under Camdar, it's us, you know. So that's kind of like, so like, no matter what Tony does, like, it's always going to bother Nadia to some extent. Once again, she has every right to feel the way she feels, because it almost feels like, yeah, like, we're in this together, but are we really, really in this together? Just because it feels like you don't see me, you only see Tony. That's all. That's the only person that's kind of got your attention a lot of the times. So Nadia wants to move into the more hardcore stuff to sell, but Tony's against that, because it's like, right, I may not be like legally a doctor here, but I still have taken an oath of do no harm, and you know, I don't want to peddle this out to dealers who are going to sell it to any and everybody, and those deaths are going to be on me. But Armand doesn't care. It's like, I need that money. We need to get from underneath Camdar. And Tony's approach, yeah, it's bringing in a profit, but it's not enough to immediately get them from underneath Camdar, because she didn't really know how bad things were for Armand under Camdar. So it's like, if we keep going at this pace, it's going to be it's going to be a very, very long time before they're able to pay off that 1.6 mil in totality. And that's more time because Armand's already had it up to like serving under someone else. And once again, like, being under Hayek was bad enough. It's even because Hayek didn't appreciate you. He was supposed to be like a father to you, but he didn't and said you were a son, but didn't really treat you like a son. That was bad enough. But Robert, there's an extra layer of, because like, he's so smug and he likes humiliating you, plus the whole Nadia of it all, plus they used to be together. Like, he loves twisting that knife, and he does that 100% on purpose, because he wants Nadia to leave Armand, and he's setting up the situation to put Armand in a situation where he's going to get frustrated and push her away, and it's like, that's when he can swoop in and kind of be that knight in shining armor. Like, this is all a calculated plan on his part. It's like, cool, I get to, you know, that's what this was all about. I mean, he's also a dangerous person who's like, yeah, it's like borrowing money from the mafia. It's like, no, you don't even want to owe a cent to me, because because I can't come off weak, so I need to show a strong hand. But also, it's like, it's about humiliating Armand, but also about taking Nadia away from him. But Tony didn't really know how bad things were. She just thought, like, right, you have to work for him, but we're making a slow, steady progress. But they need immediate action, so they end up stockpiling a whole bunch of drugs, which Tony doesn't. It doesn't sit well with Tony, and Nadia's like 100% okay. Like, okay, finally, you're listening. We're going along with my plan. And for Armand, he snaps at Tony, because for him, it's like, I do everything you've ever asked me to do. I need this done, but you won't do it for me. And anytime you ask me to do something, I do it. I never judge you. I never ask questions. I killed someone for you. And Tony doesn't realize like how hard that was for him, because yeah, he's killed people before, but it's like, he was hoping to be away from like that, all of that. He was hoping that, right, because anytime he's killed someone, it's ever been under like Hayek's orders. It's never been like something he 100% wants, and now it's a situation of he ended up killing a guy in cold blood. I mean, yes, that guy was a blackmailer. Yes, he was threatening Tony and her family, but it's still the situation. It still sucks that he, you know, obviously he's frustrated and angry, so he threw it in Tony's face of like, oh yeah, I did this for you. It's like, you asked me to do this, but it's also for him, it's like, it's further proof of, I do so much for you, and I'm asking you to do this one thing for me, and you won't. You know, it's like this whole thing we have doesn't go both ways, when in actuality it does. I think that reigns even more true for Armand at the end of the episode, but we'll get to that soon enough. It's just, you could tell last episode that killing that guy just did not sit well with Armand, because it's like, because once again, he's cast in a role of being just some thug. He's always, you know, for him, that's the role that he was kind of supposed to fit, but like Hayek kind of, it's kind of what Hyatt put him as, but he always saw himself as so much more. I'm a businessman, and I'm going to put myself in a position where I have all the power, where I never have to feel powerless again. That was the whole point of working with Hayek in the first place. And now it's like, right, he got rid of Hayek, this is going to be his, and lo and behold, now he's right underneath someone else's boot. Someone else's boot is right on his throat. So that's where we kind of get into like the complicated rub of it all. And that's why he's so frustrated, because it's like, yeah, he finally had that power only for a second before someone else came in and snatched it away from him and put him back on the ground and put, once again, their boot on his neck. So, and then Armand continues to be humiliated by, I was going to call him Peter, Robert, once again, who's smug about it. It's like, oh, here I'm dealing business with this guy, Stuart. He did that on purpose. He knew that Armand and Stuart had a connection, and he wanted to show him like, oh yeah, like, because Armand's like, no, we're working together. And he's like, no, he's not. He's not working together. He's working for me. He's made a point to do it. He wanted to humiliate him. And it doesn't help that Nadia and Robert, she doesn't think much of it, but I think there's also an element of, yeah, she's trying to make him a little jealous because, you know, it seems like, once again, all his eyes and attentions are towards Tony, and all they do lately is like, yeah, there's a little forgiveness here and there, but it's like all they do is disagree and argue. They're not on the same team anymore. Feels like he's more Team Tony than he is Team Nadia, and in Armand's eyes, it feels like, oh, like this man has his literal boot on our neck, and it feels like you're there, like lining his pocket, and you're flirting with him. It's like, I know what side of things you're on. And she's like, really? You're going to say that to me? Everything with Tony is like, don't bring Tony in. She's like, why not? You bring her into every other aspect of the business. So how about you go enjoy your cleaning lady or whatever, you know? And once again, Robert's looking at this as an opportunity, and Armand went back and given the opportunity, because it's also like, there's twofold to it, because it's like, right, he wants to break Armand. So it's like, hey, that Stewart guy, business went sideways. How about you go in there, beat the ever-living shit out of him for all the stuff that he said? And Armand does. And the guy's like, oh, like, I guess without the suit, you just go back to being a thug. I was like, if I was you, homie, I'd shut my fucking mouth. That was stupid. That was really stupid. You're seeing him literally beating the ever-living shit out of you, and then you're going to run your mouth afterwards. It's like, are you stupid? So Armand proceeds to beat the shit out of you even more, and he's like, oh, Robert's like, don't stop on my account. Like, no, you want him dead? Do it yourself. I'm not your gun for hire. I'm not going to just, once again, killing for Tony was an exception. Because, I mean, I think when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, like, I'm trying to think. Armand doesn't go out of his way to 100% kill people. It's usually a self-preservation thing. It's never, I'd say self-defense, I guess. Not really, you could argue that in court, but usually that's what it is. It's usually a self-defense situation. He's never like at least in the time we know, he's never really gone out of his way to, like, he's come close to killing people because, he's got a lot of deep-seated anger that kind of rises to the surface when people like underestimate him or screw him over. And once again, it's because, well, he had to prove himself so much to Hayek, and Hayek looked down on him, and now Robert's doing the same thing. So there's a lot of pent-up rage there. Once again, just feeling like, all his power was taken from him, you know, and he never wanted to feel powerless ever again in his life. Once again, that was the whole point of working with Hayek. But now it's like, he is where he is now, feeling extra powerless on so many fronts. So then you have Tony getting called in to clean up the room and stuff like that. And Camdar making a whole point like, oh, he's like, yeah, before I had my doubts about you being cleaning, but now, you look the role. It's like he, once again, just being the most piece of shit person he can be. Also being like, oh yeah, Armand beat this guy to a living pulp of his life. It's like, yeah, I guess we just have to throw out the rug. But it's like, I guess Tony wanted, for one, to prove herself, but also like, she probably figured if he threw out the rug, he'll, for whatever reason, tack that onto the debt that Armand already owes him. And it's like, right. And she cares for Armand. She sees like his hands and it's like, right, help me clean this up and I'll help you with that deal. Because she was slow rolling things because she didn't want to go down that route before. Like obviously selling the more hardcore drugs. But it's like, once again, now she has a picture of like what Armand is doing for Robert, what Robert's making him do, and he's like, I'm becoming a monster, and she's kind of like, no, you're not, and it's like, right, he's bringing out the worst in you, he's making you, because she's like, I see and know the good person you can be, you might have to do some bad here and there, but it's like, you're not this type of person, and he's making you into that, so it's like, okay, because she probably feels like out of anyone, she knows him best, and obviously, he let Nadia know. We didn't hear the conversation, but didn't go well because it's like, right, this was her idea, but now it's like, oh, what are you doing? You're literally doing what I wanted to do, but now you're doing it with Tony. And it's like, well, they already were kind of at odds because of the last conversation they had. But once again, what happens? Ooh, Robert gets to slip in, and I guess Nadia says, like, right, you know that one thing you wish you could go back in time and change and do differently, but you know it won't change anything. I don't know whether she's referencing the conversation she had with him, or maybe it's even in reference to the whole Robert thing, because it's like, right, regardless of if they weren't in Robert's pocket, this like Tony and Armand thing was already there to begin with, so maybe that's why she's kind of like, yeah, well, it's always going to turn out like this regardless. And Peter, once again, I don't know why I keep calling him Peter. Was that his character's name in Naveen Andrews' character from oh god, what's the show? Instinct? Was that his character's name? I don't remember. Either I don't know why I keep going Peter. Robert, because it's not even the same. I don't even know why I'm getting like Peter. Robert, his whole situation, he ends up giving Nadia back the ring. He's like, oh, I should have never taken it from. Once again, it's like everything's a calculated move, like just waiting at the right moment to kind of play his cards. Tony kind of does the same thing this episode, like when her and Armand go off to do the deal because Garrett's working with the FBI agent that's on Cortez's case, and ends up ultimately, like the moment he referenced like, oh, a CI hooked me up with like a deal that's going down. I was like, oh, it's gonna be Tony's place, and the fact like he rolls up there, and I was like, oh, that's gonna be super bad. That's gonna suck. Luckily, the other agent was like a little ways away, so when the time comes, he confronts Garrett and Tony, and Garrett, like, Tony's just kind of like, right, this was my idea, this is on me, but then like Armand is like, no, this is like, take me, leave her alone. It's like, it is sweet how they do have each other's backs like that. But like Tony did overhear a conversation between Peter. Damn it, I don't know why I keep saying Peter. Robert. I don't know where the hell Peter's coming from. Robert and Cortez, and then and I love that Tony she did this quite a bit in season 1. She always keeps something in her back pocket at the most convenient time, because she already knew about the Camdar and Cortez situation, because she's like, okay, so she knew Camdar because she knew that Armand was in his debt, but she didn't play that card yet. She already knew about that. She could have brought that to Garrett sooner, probably could even brought it to Armand sooner, but really couldn't do anything with it. But now she waited to the most opportune time. That's like, cool, let us go, and I can be your CI again. I can work for you, and I can get you Peter, because Peter is... Robert, fuck. I don't know. I'm so sorry. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me. Jesus Christ. Robert has... He's doing business with Cortez. You take Robert down. He's the Brit you're looking for. And you take him down. You get Cortez too. You get to save Maya. It's a win-win-win-win, you know? So, and it seems like Garrett's okay with this situation. I mean, it works out for Armand in the long run, because like, I figured that would be the end result. It's like, right, take Robert out of the equation by taking him down. Once again, I brought this up earlier. Depending on how things play out, Nadia might end up taking the fall with him, depending on how close they end up getting by then. And I think they're going to end up getting close, but we'll see. I don't think that's going to... I just feel like that whole situation is going to implode, and I think Nadia will take the fall with Robert. Or maybe she'll be the kind of, once again, the queen of the castle, where once Robert takes the fall, she fills that void, but Armand isn't by her side because, for whatever reason, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out, what the fallout to all of this is going to be. But yeah, Armand's, I mean, it's mainly Tony, but Armand's kind of the package deal in that. I'm sure, like, cool, you guys are going to be my insiders, and now it's like, yeah. I mean, this is how Armand gets away from Robert's hold and doesn't have to, well, he's going to have to keep up the front of like, right, I'm making money for you and so on and so forth. So that's definitely going to be interesting. But it also kind of, it's like, yeah, Garrett playing his games again. Once again, it's like we find ourselves back to where we were in season 1, but Now it's like Armand's, once again, fully a part of the arrangement because now he knows what's going on about Tony playing like her double agent role, whereas like he was completely unaware before. So it's definitely going to be interesting to ultimately see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.